All right, this video is going to teach you all about the graphs of quadratics if we do not have the term bx and c in them. So we're starting a unit on quadratics. That's probably why you're here in this video. And your teacher's going to start you off with the basics, right? They're not going to throw everything at you all at once. They're going to make sure you understand what this A is capable of doing to our parabolas. All right, so first and foremost, we're going from linearity jumping into quadratics. So we no longer have lines when we graph. Now we have what are called parabolas. Parabolas are that U-shaped figure that we get when we graph these out, when we have an exponent of 2 within our equation. Okay? So first and foremost, I want my students to really understand what A can do to our graphs. So let's just write two simple equations out. Y equals 6x squared. And y equals negative 6x squared. You can probably tell the very important difference from this equation to this equation. Yeah, you better believe it. We have a positive 6 here. Here we have a negative 6. Okay, so if A is greater than 0, just a fancy way for a mathematician to say A's got to be positive. So if A is positive, you know we're going to have a U shape. Now if A is negative, if A is less than 0, so A is all the negative numbers. If A is a negative value, we're going to have a rainbow shape. That U is going to flip upside down, and our parabola is going to look like a rainbow or an umbrella, however you want to think of it. Okay, so the first main important piece of information you need to understand is positive or negative will change the way that the parabola will look. Okay, it'll either be a U shape, or it'll be a rainbow or umbrella. Okay, now that you know that, let's talk about what changing the value from 6 to 2, or maybe 1/3, what that will do to the parabola. So this now, we want to start to think about what is the value of the number in front of the variable x. Does it hold a lot of value or a little bit of value? So let's start with 1x. We'll then go to y equals 1/5 x, and then we'll do y equals 5x. So you have 3 examples, okay? Out of these 3 coefficients, 5, 1/5, and 1, 1/5 holds the smallest value. It's a decimal, it's less than 1. So because that coefficient is the smallest out of the 3, this parabola would be the widest. Be a very wide parabola like that. 1 would look more like this when graphed, and 5 would be very narrow or skinny and steep. That would look more like this. Okay, so the second important piece of information for you to understand about what the A can do to our parabolas is it can change the width of our parabola. All right? Parent function, normal U shape. The smaller and smaller the value gets, the wider and wider the parabola will become. And then the larger the value of the coefficient of A is, the steeper or quicker it's going to grow. Now, I had a student earlier, actually this week, okay, and they weren't dealing with 5x squared, they were dealing with negative 5x squared. And that student thought that this was going to be the widest. And I went over to their desk and I said, hey, why'd you put this down as the widest? And their response made a lot of sense to me why they were confused. They thought this was going to be the widest because they said negative 5 is the smallest number out of the list. Yeah, if you're thinking of a number line, 0, 1, 1/5. So 1/5 is right there, 1 is right there, and then you got negative 5 back here. So they're saying this would be the largest value, the middle value, and then they thought this was the lowest, which it is, right? It's the smallest number on a number line, but it doesn't hold the smallest value. The value of negative 5 is no different than the value of 5. It's just a negative value, right? 5 holds more weight than 1/5. So it's about how much of a value the number is, okay? Negative 5, just treat it like a 5. 5 is more than 1. It's also more than 1/5. Therefore, it's the steepest or narrowest parabola you would get. Oh, wait a second, that's a negative 5x. So what should I do with this? Think about what was the first thing I showed you. What's a negative number in front going to do to it? It's going to flip it upside down. All right, hopefully this makes sense. Start to practice graphing them. Remember to make your table of values. Plug your values in for x to figure out your values for y. Graph them. Be nice and neat with them. They are hard to connect dots when you're curving, so just take your time and do your best. Study hard and good luck on your upcoming test.